The flow friction analysis is something that we can use at the individual level, the team level, product level, or even the organizational level to quickly identify areas that may need extra support and help. And of course, this comes straight from the flow formula. And in the following slides, you're going to see how we actually apply this. As I mentioned on the previous slide in this video, the leadership takeaways are going to be the importance of vision, why it's important to get the right people, what happens if you don't have the elements of the 4D model all working properly, and then how do we actually get to flow and success. And we're going to apply these to the 4 lenses of leadership, because you can use the friction analysis with individuals, with teams, with products, programs, processes, line management, and even with the portfolio up to the leadership level. As I've stated in many different places, both in this video series and in the transformation video series, and I think even in the Why Use Flow series, I quote Peter Drucker very often, because only 3 things happen naturally in organizations: friction, confusion, and underperformance. Everything else requires leadership. It requires leadership at the individual level. It requires leadership at the team level. It requires leadership in the product, program, process area. And it definitely requires leadership in the portfolio, senior leadership, executive leadership, and C-level leadership. Because when the fish rots from the head. And we've seen it too many times in organizations. The Peter Principle still is alive and well. And it's really important to be able to fix the leadership. If the culture of the organization is toxic or dysfunctional, or if the vision is fractured, it's going to take a ton of leadership doing the right things in order to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. And if you want to eliminate friction, if you want to eliminate confusion, and if you want to eliminate underperformance and get people up to a higher level of sustainable performance, then you really need to take what we're teaching here with all of these frameworks and models and start using them every day, because flow is a leadership framework above everything else. The flow friction analysis builds on the flow formula. And so basically, it's built on if you have the right vision, plus the right people, plus the right definitions, you've distilled agreement, the team is delivering, and you're driving through retrospectives and continuously filtering everything you do against the vision, then you can achieve flow. However, if you don't have the right vision, or the vision's lacking, you probably have anarchy. So if you walk into a team or a situation and you feel that there's anarchy there, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be because there is no vision or compelling vision that the team can align with so that they can actually get their work done. If you don't have the right people on your teams, you're probably going to end up with anxiety. Either the person themselves knows that they're not the right person, or they realize that some of the other people on the team are not the right people. And if you have a team put together and they're trying to deliver something and they realize that they're missing one or two people, or they have the wrong people on the team, then that will create anxiety. So if you have a team that's anxious, you're going to be looking at, you probably don't have the right people in the right places. Now, this works at all levels in the organization, from the team level to the product program level to the portfolio executive level. It's the same for all those teams. If you do not have the right definitions, here with D1, as we call it for definitions, you're probably going to end up with confusion, because if you have definitions and the people don't know or don't agree on those definitions, people are going to be confused, and it's really going to slow down or even stop what you're trying to create or deliver. Now, this one is perhaps the most powerful part of the flow friction analysis, because I haven't seen an organization yet that doesn't have politics. And so you can mitigate politics by distilling agreement, and that's just not at the team level, that's with all the stakeholders involved. If you've distilled agreement, it creates a situation where it's very difficult for politics to rear its ugly head and slow down or stop what it is that you're trying to achieve. Now, if you have a team that's unable to deliver, you will have chaos. I saw one organization where their solution to that was to lock 40 people in a big room over a weekend from Friday to Sunday night or Monday morning early. And it would just be chaotic. They'd be shouting at each other. They would work to try to deliver something in those 2.5 days. And then they would release it at the end and then spend the next 3 months cleaning up all the bugs that chaos created. Now, if you don't have the ability to drive the team and their work in a good way so that they're able to, at each checkpoint or retrospective, go back and through the filter of vision, look at, okay, is this incremental step for the product or service or result that we're trying to create, is this incremental step getting us one closer to the vision? If it's not, then you could end up in a situation where you have division. Division in English literally means two separate visions. If you end up with multiple visions, then everybody's going to do what's right in their own eyes, but that's not necessarily going to get you any closer to delivering the increment for that product, service, or result that you originally envisioned. And so this is the flow friction analysis, and using this with your teams, if you're working with teams or with people and you detect any of these, you can go back down through this and look at, okay, well, this is part of the flow friction analysis, and you can start to help guide your team members, your coworkers, and say, hey, look, it sounds like you got some confusion there. Maybe we should go back and look at the definitions. Or if politics has reared its ugly heads, then you're going to have to do a whole bunch of campaign political stakeholder management in order to distill agreement to get everybody in alignment again. If you don't do that, you risk going down in flames, and nobody wants that. So this tool is there to help you achieve higher and higher levels of performance for yourself, your teams, and all parts of the organization. We use the flow friction analysis, as I mentioned earlier, in all 4 areas. We use it with the individual. Are they feeling anxious? Do they feel like they're experiencing anarchy? You can do this at the individual level and quickly measure how does the person feel. You can use dot voting if you want to. Same for the team. We can dot vote and have the team vote what of any of these may be present with the team. And so the team, if they're feeling that there's anarchy or anxiety, confusion, politics, chaos, or division, you can quickly use that to say that, oh, okay, well, if they dot vote and 3 of them pop up, then you can go to the root cause and say, okay, then, all right, if it's politics, okay, then obviously we don't have agreements. Let's figure out where we need to get agreement in order to eliminate that from the voting. Same for product, program, process level, and definitely the same for the organization level. We can do this via surveys. We can create a team radar based on, it's almost like a health radar based on the flow friction analysis. And then over time, you do snapshots in time. So if you're doing this for a team, for example, you might do it on a monthly basis. If you're working with the executives, you still might do it on a monthly basis, but at minimum, a quarterly basis to see, are we eliminating any of the items that are manifesting in the organization at any level or in any area of the business? And so we have ways of doing that so that we can quickly start to gather the information, and then over time show the organization, okay, now you're making progress. Now you're getting to the point where you've actually eliminated some of the anarchy, or you've eliminated all of the anxiety. Nobody's anxious anywhere right now on any of the teams. Or you could say, we finally eliminated the chaotic releases that we were doing before. That's been eliminated. So there are ways over time, but you have to measure it, and you have to measure it over time. Watch the trend lines, measure the trend lines. It doesn't necessarily mean it's perfect, but it will give the trend lines with which executives and leaders in the organization can make some relatively reasonable decisions and help guide and support the organization in achieving those higher level of sustainable performance that the executives want to achieve. You've now been through the sections that cover the flow formula and the flow friction analysis and all of the parts of those and how to apply those to the 4 lenses of leadership. And also you should know what the 4 whys are and be able to share with others what those are and begin to use all of these in your daily work. So to take it out of the theory of the books and the videos and so on, I want to give you a little bit of application that you can think about and that you can start to do, and we'll do these at the end of each section. So in this case, you should just take a pause and write out vision statements. Now, a vision statement should be short, it should be memorable, repeatable, and people should be able to rattle off vision statements very quickly. So you should write down 5 to 7 words. What's your personal vision statement? Then you should start to think about, hey, my team, we might need a vision statement for our team and or for the product or programs that our team is working on. So look at using vision statements for those, but those you're going to want to get together with your team and say, hey, what's our vision and what are the 5 to 7 words that describes what we want to be in the future. And remember to separate vision from mission. But right now, I just want you to work on what is the vision statement for yourself, for your team, and or for your products and programs. And then ultimately, you should do a little homework and look up for your entire organization, what is our vision statement? and look at it. One of the companies I worked for, they didn't really have a vision statement. They had a mission statement, and it was from like 1862. And it was like half of a letter-sized page or half of an A4 long statement. It was not short, it was not memorable, it was not easily communicated, and yet they were still using it, 130, 140 years later. Also, think about how you would immediately begin to apply the 4D model. And it doesn't matter what you're working with. It doesn't matter if you're working with traditional or waterfall or lean methodologies, theories of constraints, or things like that. Or if you're working with Agile and Scrum, whatever you're working with at the team level, remember the 4D model flow, everything is a leadership framework that sits above it. Okay? And every methodology pretty much misses the idea of distilling agreement. Okay, you can have your definitions. It could be in a product backlog, it could be in a work breakdown structure. That's great, but it will only work if people agree that that's the actual work that has to be done in order for you to deliver the vision for the product, service, or result that you're trying to deliver. Okay. So you need to start to take this out of the book and start looking at, hey, where can I use the 4D model in my daily work to start to help people understand, to know and understand what we're trying to do, to help them distill agreement. Because if those two steps aren't done first, you're going to have a really hard time delivering. In fact, it'll probably just be chaos. Okay? So you want to really think about how can I use the 4D model to my advantage in my daily work. And finally, write out the 4 whys and start to figure out, okay, what is it I'm doing? What is it that I'm doing on a daily basis that helps the company make more money? What is it that helps the company cut costs? What is it that helps the company get rid of, mitigate, or eliminate risk? And lastly, and it probably should be the first one, but I've done it the other way for so many years, that am I doing the right thing? Okay, so uh, that is really important for you to filter everything you're doing for the company through the filter of the 4 whys.